I didn't know we were going to need a James Talarico versus Jasmine Crockett extract yourself from Christian patriarchy before voting part 2, but here we are. But let's clear up some factual things first. Jasmine Crockett is not endorsed or funded by that PAC and has publicly clarified that claim. And for those of you who are new here, hi, I'm Rev Karla. I'm a former Christian and a minister to the unchurched. I help people deconstruct and heal from Christian patriarchy and reclaim their spirituality after leaving church. I'm the author of Deconstructing, which you could find where books are sold and here on the TikTok shop. Now, Jasmine explained her vote on the supplemental package clearly. The bill included defensive funding for and humanitarian aid for Gaza, Haiti, and Taiwan. She also voted no on standalone only funding bills. That distinction matters. We cannot pretend that Democrats in a House controlled by the Republican Party are drafting clean, single-issue bills. Republicans control what hits the floor. Democrats often negotiate to add humanitarian funding where none would otherwise exist. When someone says, I won't vote for her because she took money from but cannot cite a direct endorsement or funding stream, that reflects how quickly propaganda travels and how harmful it is, especially when it is attached to a Black woman in power. For our purposes here, let's zoom out. This conversation does not happen in a vacuum. American Christianity has romanticized the country of for generations through Christian Z. Entire churches teach that the country of is a prophetic necessity, that its expansion is divinely sanctioned, and that U.S. policy must align with it to remain blessed. That theology did not emerge organically. It traces back to 19th century dispensationalism frameworks that fused apocalyptic readings of Revelation with modern geopolitics. Now, I discussed that in an overview of Christian nationalism that I posted earlier this week, and I've tagged it below. This theology has shaped voting blocs, foreign policy pressure, and unquestioned loyalty for decades. Inside fundamentalist and conservative and evangelical spaces, the country of is often treated as morally immune. It's untouchable. Any criticism is framed as rebellion against God's plan. That conditioning makes many Christians reflexively defensive of the country of government, regardless of humanitarian consequences. So when a Black woman legislator navigates a complex funding package in a divided government and she is immediately branded pro-I, ask yourself why the nuance disappears. Ask why the same scrutiny is not applied symmetrically, because here is the part that many people conveniently ignore. James Talarico has received support from a PAC that has also received significant funding connected to Miriam Adelson, a major Republican donor and outspoken supporter of Donald Trump. Now get this. Miriam Adelson has been one of the largest financiers of pro-I political advocacy in the United States and a major donor aligned with Trump-era policies. So if we are going to scrutinize funding streams, we do it across the board. You can't weaponize a distorted claim about Crockett while ignoring the financial surroundings, the white Christian man that has a name. It's called selective outrage. And here is the deeper layer. When white voters feel uneasy about a Black woman's intensity, they will often reach for a policy concern to justify that discomfort. Foreign policy becomes the cover. Tone becomes the subtext. I'm not saying that's you, but here's the mirror I am offering all of us to check ourselves. And I'm also not saying that foreign policy critiques are invalid. I am saying they must be fact-based and consistently applied. And based on what I'm reading about Talarico's position on that little country in the Middle East, he sounds really American Christianese. What we cannot do is let misinformation about a Black woman's vote travel unchecked while offering grace and nuance to a white Christian man with similar entanglements. And let's also talk about the Christian Z piece clearly. Many American Christians have been discipled to believe that protecting the state of is synonymous with protecting God's will. Talarico has made it clear that he supports that country's right to protect itself, which most likely is based on his beliefs. That belief has shaped decades of political loyalty, and it also makes many voters complacent towards the country of state violence. And that indoctrination breeds into our politics, and it has for years, whether we acknowledge it or not. So when someone says, I still won't vote for her because of some unclear funding or because of their pro-I affiliation, ask yourself this. Have you read these actual bills? Do you understand House procedure? Have you examined both candidates' funding? Or are you repeating a headline that confirmed a bias that you already had in you? We are in a moment where propaganda spreads faster than policy literacy. Black women leaders bear the brunt of that distortion. So if you are going to critique Jasmine Crockett, do it with facts. If you're going to critique James Talarico, do it with the same intensity. We must make sure that misinformation doesn't become the conduit that discredits a Black woman unfairly. Now let me close by saying this. Many people ask me as a reverend, why do I care so much about this? Because I believe that spirituality intersects with empathic humanity. So what that means for the deconstructing Christian is that we examine the ways propaganda, even Christian Z, and definitely racial bias impact the ways we see the world. Now if you want to go deeper into that work, find me on Substack where I will be opening up space for study groups soon. Join me over there.